This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
So the stage is set at the top of the stretch here at Belmont Park. Royal Delta down inside, narrowly on the outside, Princess of Sylmar. There's absolutely nothing between them with 1 furlong to go, and it is Princess of Sylmar. Princess of Sylmar is in front. Royal Delta will be defeated, and it is Princess of Sylmar. It took a champion to defeat a champion today in the Beldame.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Cassano. On this morning's show, we'll look back at several stakes from the past week, highlighted by the Pennsylvania Derby. We will look ahead to a very busy afternoon of racing, and we will be helped by our three special guests. Mr. Eric Guillot, whose Whitney winner Moreno goes in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Mr. Eddie Plaza, whose Woodward hero, It's My Lucky Day, will shorten up for this afternoon's Kelso. Then it's out to the West Coast, and we will welcome Mr. Jerry Hollendorfer, whose Shared Belief, the early favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic, will prep in today's Awesome Again. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our September 27th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. And we welcome back Bloodlines Racing, who is really on a roll with Invading Humor, a winner of 4 straight, including the John Hettinger, and Distorted Beauty, a winner of 4 of her last 5. Visit them online at bloodlinesracing.com. Good morning once again on this sensational September Saturday. This our first official show of autumn on a very, very busy day of racing on both coasts. But before we look ahead to today's action, going to go back and take a look at our race of the week, the Pennsylvania Derby, which marked the return of California Chrome, the Kentucky Derby and Preakness hero, who had last run a disappointing 4th in the Belmont Stakes. California Chrome, number 1, that being part of the problem, was the 90 cent to the dollar favorite. Second choice at 3.5 to 1 was number 4, Bayern, who figured to be the controlling speed. Now, as you take a look at the Pennsylvania Derby develop, take a look at 2 things. Take a look at the trip that California Chrome gets from the inside post, and keep in mind, if you pay attention to these fractions, the racetrack was extremely fast. So, for the call of the Pennsylvania Derby, here's Keith Jones.
And they're off. And a good start for California Chrome. He came bouncing right out of there, but Bayern, of course, has the best speed, and CJ's Awesome going to go right with him on the outside. So it is Bayern in front, but CJ's Awesome will back off now, and Victor Espinoza will move up close to the inside now with California Chrome. Pertonigo will be 4th into the first turn. Tapiture is 5th on the outside. He's about 5 back now as they hit that opening turn. Noble Moon is tucked away at the inside, running 6th. Then it's Classic Jock and Roll, and Candy Boy takes back last. Candy Boy is 8th. He's running almost 8 lengths behind. Bayern, a very leisurely first quarter, 24 flat. The track's been fast all day. That is a very slow pace. Bayern to the back stretch in front, 3/4 of a length. Shadowed outside by CJ's Awesome 2nd. California Chrome just in behind the top 2. He's 3rd on the inside. He's about 2 back with 5/8 to go. Pertonigo is in the clear on the outside after a half of 47 4. Tapiture has edged his way up within 3.5 lengths of the lead as they run to the half-mile pole. Then it's Noble Moon, Classic Jock and Roll, and nothing yet from Candy Boy. 3.5 furlongs to go in the Pennsylvania Derby, and Bayern lets it out a notch. It's Bayern a length and a half. C.J. Zawson trying to stay with him now. Victor Espinoza says go with California Chrome. He's trying to get out from in behind the leader. They come to the top of the stretch. Tapiture into contention as he unwinds with a run on the outside. Bayern still holding on to the lead as they hit the top of the stretch. Still nowhere to go right now for California Chrome. On the outside, Tapiture trying to get involved, but it's Bayern coming to the 8th pole. Bayern has opened up 3. California Chrome on the inside is giving his best, but he's dropping back. On the outside, Tapiture is taken second. It's Bayern pulling away. They're coming down to the finish, and it will be Bayern impressive on the front end today. Bayern's got it by 5.
Bayern, Bob Baffert, Martin Garcia controlled things from the outset as California Chrome and Victor Espinoza were pretty much bottled up along the inside. And this turned out to be, pretty much of a stroll in the parks as Bayern won off by 5 3/4 lengths. An opening half mile in 47.89 over this quick surface was really slow. And Edgar Prado aboard number 8 C.J. Zawson appeared more concerned with keeping California Chrome trapped than he did with keeping Bayern honest on the front end. With a final 5/8 and a very fast 59.07, Bayern gave no one else a chance. Tapiture would eventually edge Candy Boy for second, but they were never a factor. And here, when California Chrome finally got room to run, turning for home, he was empty. Now, he had an excuse. Being bottled up and throttled down is not to his liking, but he should have had some run through the lane, in my opinion. Did he have a legitimate excuse, or is it the fact that the other 3-year-olds have finally caught up to him? California Chrome will be pointed for the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he will be ridden by Victor Espinoza. Which race Bayern goes to in the Breeders' Cup now remains undecided. Now, how fast was that track last Saturday at Parks? Here's a look at the 3 stakes races and how they compared to 2 years ago when, I guess, they forgot to water the racetrack or ran out of water. The Pennsylvania Derby last Saturday was run 4 2/3 seconds faster than 2 years ago. The mile and the 16th cotillion was 1.83 seconds faster, and the 6 furlong Gallant Bob. Now, you would think going 3/4, the difference would not be that dramatic. It was 1.72 seconds faster than 2 years ago, going only 3/4 of a mile. So that should give you a pretty good idea of just how fast that Park Strip was last Saturday. And we are up to our first break. When we return, Mr. Eric Guillot will join us as we go to the break. The aforementioned cotillion and the 1-2 favorite, number 8, Untappable, the clear leader of the 3-year-old filly division. So we will take a look at the cotillion to the break. Back with Eric Guillot right after these messages.
And they're off. And Untappable gets off to a very good beginning. JoJo Warrior is being hustled out of there, and Cassatt steps out from her inside gate. So it will be JoJo Warrior and Cassatt who vie for the lead into the first turn. And Rosita Pravdic has Untappable just off of those 2 on the outside. Sweet Reason is 4th here in the early going. On the outside, it's House Rules in 5th. Little Alexis is moved up 3 wide to be 6th. And then it's Vera Amore and stretch running Joint Return is at the back. And Joint Return has dropped almost 10 lengths off the lead. They went the opening quarter mile in 23 2. They turned into the backstretch of the cotillion, and JoJo Warrior leads the way by just over a length. Cassatt has switched to the outside. She'll sit just off the pace second. A little bit more than 2 back to Untappable. She's just loping along right now. She's sitting third by 2.5. Sweet Reason and House Rules are side by side. Those 2 hit the half-mile pole just about 5 lengths off the lead. After that comes Vera Amore, Little Alexis, and beginning to make some progress from the back on the outside is Joint Return. The half-mile was 46 3. They move to the far turn. JoJo Warrior continues to lead the way. Cassatt trying to get to her second, and here comes Untappable now. She begins to make her move 3 wide as they approach the quarter pole. Sweet Reason in with a chance. She's now gaining ground quickly in behind the front runners. But as they approach the top of the stretch, here comes Untappable, now making her run on the outside. JoJo Warrior trying to dig in down at the inside, and Sweet Reason will try to sustain her bit on the outside. They're coming to the last furlong. Untappable forges a short lead. On the outside, Sweet Reason closing in. JoJo Warrior holding tough. Untappable, short lead with a 16th to go. She's beginning to edge away. It will be the incomparable Untappable. Untappable's got it by a length on the line.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer, and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano, and Untappable for Steve Asmussen and Rosie, despite of a bit of an erratic run through the stretch, captures the cotillion by a length over Sweet Reason. Untappable already in California, getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. As far as Sweet Reason, they're not sure at this point which Breeders' Cup race she's going to go in, whether that be the Distaff or the Filly and Mare Sprint. Our first guest this morning captured the richest race of the Saratoga meet, the $1.5 million Whitney with Moreno, who starts today in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We welcome back to Down the Stretch, Mr. Eric Guyot. Eric, Mark Asano welcoming you back to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you as always. I want to go back and take a look at a piece of Moreno's wire-to-wire win in the Whitney. As our audience watches it, talk about it if you would.
Okay, already getting into the gate. It's going to be hard for me. I know I'm
no, they're
have a crystal ball.
Well, I know you're good, but they're going into the far turn, and you're cruising in front.
Yeah, he's. I mean, the plan was to do like he always does. Mark, was to go ahead and get to the lead and try at any cost and kind of separate yourself early. And don't wait till you turn for home. As soon as you feel that momentum coming out the first last turn, was to get down on your belly and ride him like he was working him by himself. I mean, that's the best scenario with this horse.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Eric, is he a terribly difficult horse to ride, or is he one who needs to be ridden in a certain manner?
He needs to be ridden in a certain manner, Mark. I mean, I gave up trying to explain. I mean, because when you're a race fan and you watch his races, you have a tendency to say, because he's so consistently, you go, wow, what a game racehorse. You know what I mean? I've had game racehorses, and he's not, so say, from a particular standpoint of game, he's got tons and tons of natural ability. But he's a quirky-headed horse, that's why he has all the equipment, the earplugs and the blinkers, and has to be ridden and shake him up to get to the lead, because just like in the Woodward, if you go back and look at his last race, he didn't get beat because he got outrun. He got beat because the horse smashed him all the way down the lane and leaned on him against it, and he's like looking to the horse, and he's like, what the hell is going on? What is this? He don't like that. If you watch the gallop out, he gallops out 5 in front of It's My Lucky Day. So I don't think it was, it was intentionally. It just happened that way. So the new instructions to the riders make sure that he gives them space and too much to do, and don't let nobody lean on him either way. But so he is. To your question, he's kind of a horse that needs to be ridden a certain way.
Well, Naira doubled the purse this year to $1.5 million. Did it make up for the loss in last year's Travers?
Yeah, it made up. I mean, I didn't even. I was told when they sent me the NBC feed. I hadn't seen the feed. I knew it was the richest race that's ever run in the history of Spa. But they had told me on the NBC report there that it was like 150 years to the date as well, that Saratoga got opened, and to the day that opened and all kinds. So it was pretty nice making history like that. Winning those kind and the Travers. Yeah, the Travers took a little bit out of me last year. That was such a game effort on, it's a big race. And to win the Travers and to come back and win the Whitney like that was pretty incredible.
Eric, was your original plan for this year to run them in both the Whitney and the Woodward?
Yeah, it was the Whitney and the Woodward, and then skip the or running the Jockey Club with Awesome again, depending on how it unfolds. You know, the purse money is so much, it's 3 times as grand as the Awesome again. Whether to go back home and run there on the track we wasn't familiar with yet, hadn't tested. So yeah, I mean that was the plan. I mean, you keep in mind he's a gelding, so his as far as for stallion future, it does it. You know, the money, the purse money, and the big prestige races to have fun with him. And I think I would literally have to win probably today, or at least hit the board today, and win the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, they put so much emphasis on the Classic to maybe have a chance for Horse of the Year.
Well, you mentioned it briefly earlier. We're about to take a look at a piece of the Woodward, a very game second in here as they go into the far turn. Of course, he is in front. Now, you truly feel that because he couldn't get clear of It's My Lucky Day and the bumping, which, really you guys caused the majority of the bumping, but you felt that was the difference between the Whitney and the Woodward results?
Well, I disagree, because I don't think we caused most of the bumping. I mean, my horse has a history of running straight, and his has a horse for getting in. So if you go back and look, I mean, if we started it, we did an inch or two. We did it like with first when he came out. With the rest of them, everybody says, I mean, they did, majority of them, he kept coming and bumping me, I couldn't go to the right-hand stick. I couldn't do anything. If you could look, he keeps bumping to the inside. Matter of fact, about 3 jumps from the wire, he knocked me off stride, and Jockey had to pull up. So I think it was just horse racing. As the stewards wasn't going to race of that magnitude, wasn't going to make any kind of final decision on it. So it remained the same. But yes, once again, at the quarter pole, I think Junior let him come to him and didn't look back. If you go back and watch the Whitney mark, at the quarter pole, he asked him for another spurt, and then kind of opened up and split the distance where he couldn't get to it. He let him come to him, and by that time, like I said, when he got lapped onto Marino paid attention to It's My Lucky Day and not paid attention to running. I mean, if you go back and you look, because he was every bit as good, they went the last 8 closer to 13 versus 12-2 or 13-1 the last 8 as it was in the Whitney when he's full of run.
In the past, and I don't know if you still feel this way, we're going to find out in a moment. In the past, you have stated that you felt 1.25 miles was actually Moreno's best distance, yet he's never won beyond 9 furlongs. Do you still feel 1.25 miles is best for him?
Right. I mean, yeah, he's never won. He's only got 3 wins out of 20 starts or whatever, 19, 20, whatever starts anyway. So it's not like he hasn't won at 1 mile 16. I think 1 mile 16 either. Yeah, besides his maiden race of the wire. But I mean, the whole thing is he's only run 1.25 miles 3 times. The Travers got beat 6 inches, so how can you take that away?
Right.
Did all the running early, got pressed, put away, or blah blah blah. And then the Suburban, I thought 1.25 miles this summer was his best race. I still say that. I mean, everybody goes off of fire numbers, but forget about that. What about the 11 hole like I drew today? Another bad, horrible draw. But look at the 11 hole. Go back and watch the first 1/4 mile and tell me how far back I was the first part, how much I had to help of a horse in the Suburban. And that's what people should be watching today, not the Whitney. They should be watching the Suburban on film, because you could see how the post cost him and how much he had to use up to get the lead. To where, and then he got pressed by another horse, and he got 46-4, 1-2. He got pressed by another horse, put him away, and then Vito inside the 16th hole, Vito come back and actually got him late. So, and it was 2 minutes and 2/5. I mean, look at the Travelers, was ran 2:02.4 this year, I think, and 2 minutes and 2/5 is a pretty good 1.25 miles.
And I agree with you that he ran extremely well that day. But today, you draw post 11 again, starting on the dog leg. Your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts is not good. I mean, it's not, I was hoping to get the 3 or 4 hole, 3, 4, 5 would have been ideal. But, what am I going to do with the draw? You know what I mean? I mean, and that's one of those things I can't control. Try not to control anything out of your control. I'm going to make the best of what I get. This time I don't think I'm going to have the rider hustle him out the first 1/4 mile. It's such a long run to the backside. But then again, with a horse with his head cases, sometimes it's kind of hard for him to, you don't want to take him out of game plan mark where you actually break and you say, okay, well, I'm just going to gradually inch up, because if there's 3 or 4 inside of him and they float him out late, in the first turn, and they get dirt in his face, he'll be able to stop like he's done in the past. A lot of it's like you say, I just don't feel like running today. I mean, he's known to do that.
Eric, how's he doing coming into this afternoon's Gold Cup?
He's doing great. I'm hoping today he's just too much tiger for him to hold the tail. You know what I mean? He's schooled great. He worked good over the Oklahoma, just easy maintenance work. He's schooled yesterday in the paddock. I schooled him in the gate. I mean, he's a multiple grade 1 horse going to the Bridge Cup. You still got to school him in the gate on a regular basis, because I think, and also it was hard to tell. You couldn't really see off the replay, Mark, but something maybe had a little to do with the Suburban is that he's loading last. When he loads last or like that, I think he just takes a look to the left. He took a look to the left and they popped the gate because he was in it for such a short time. So he's probably got left a hair too.
Well, before we let you go, you've got a runner in today's opener. And the country group Little Big Town had a big hit with Boondocks. Well, you're going to debut a son of Smart Strike by the name of Boondocks. Is he going to end up being a big hit?
He's a very, very, very nice coach. My operation is back to California, so I was shy of a spot on the van, and he's such a nice horse, ready to run. He maybe be a couple of work short, but good enough. He hasn't been outworked yet. He's been working very, very impressive. He's a big 17-hand, well-bred colt. I kind of like him a lot, and that's kind of why we changed his name back to Boondocks, because it's an expression we use down in Louisiana quite often. I mean, they live way back there in the boondocks.
Well, Eric, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. All the best this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric Guillot, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. Eddie Plaza will join us as we go to the break, the Gallant Bloom at Belmont. And the 2-5 favorite, number 1, Artemis Agritera, coming off an absolutely powerful performance here at Saratoga in the Bell Arena. Now, going into this race, let's face it, 2-5, I thought she would be extremely tough to beat. But as soon as the gates opened and the race unfolded, I didn't think she had much of a chance. So we are going to take a look at the Gallant Bloom to the break. Back with Eddie Plaza right after these messages.
And the rough. And La Verdad goes right out for the lead from that outside post position. La Verdad has cleared the field and is in front by a length. Bridgehampton races in second. Classic Point and Merry Meadow, their heads apart, third and fourth, and it's 4 lengths back to Artemis Agritera, who is fifth already, 9 lengths from the lead. Willett is the trailer. La Verdad ran the opening quarter mile in 21 3/5 seconds and leads by a length and a half. Bridgehampton in pursuit in second, a gap of 4. Merry Meadow third by a head. Classic Points on the outside. Another 4 to Artemis Agritera and Willett. La Verdad has opened up here. La Verdad by 4. The half. Sparkling 43 3/5 seconds, and La Verdad has opened up a 6-length lead as they come into the stretch. Artemis Agritera was widest of all, is gaining ground on the outside with Willett, and then it's Merry Meadow. They're closing in on La Verdad. The lead is down to 3.5 lengths. Here comes Artemis Agritera on the outside. La Verdad trying to hang in there. Artemis Agritera driving on the outside. It's La Verdad and Artemis Agritera. A photo finish. A photo finish in the Gallant Bloom handicap. Artemis Agritera and La Verdad, noses apart on the line in 1:15 2.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
The big day is here. You've told everybody. You've dressed the part. Your heart is pounding in your chest. Your horse is rolling down the stretch. He's coming. He's closing. He's the winner! You're a winner with Parting Glass Racing. PartingGlassRacing.com. PartingGlassRacing.wow!
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTV.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTV.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. My thanks to Eric Gio once again for having joined us, and Artemis Agraterra for Mike Hushin, and Rajiv somehow runs down La Verdad to win the Gallant Bloom, and it's on to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Our next guest this morning won Saratoga's Woodward Stakes with the newly blinkered It's My Lucky Day, who cuts back in distance for this afternoon's Kelso at Belmont. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Eddie Plaza. Eddie, Mark Asano welcoming you back to the show.
Mark, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Nice to have you, Eddie. Let's remind our audience, It's My Lucky Day was sidelined from last June until this March. What sent him and kept him on the sidelines?
He cracked his pelvis, and we had to give it time to heal. And needless to say, the pelvis is a major part of the horse. And, it healed, and he's 110%.
Well, you have got to be absolutely thrilled with the 4-year-old campaign he's had thus far.
We absolutely are. He's just done everything we've asked of him in a great way.
Eddie, we're about to take a look at a piece of the Whitney. And as we pick it up, It's My Lucky Day is number 4 for our audience. He'll be 4th on the fence. This was his last race without blinkers. Talk about this effort, if you would.
It was a big effort. It's one of those races that, pace makes the race. Marino had pretty much everything his own way. We chased after him, and again, the pace was a little bit softer than certainly I would have liked, and we just didn't get up in time.
Eddie, was the original plan with It's My Lucky Day to stay at Monmouth for the summer stakes there?
No, it's always been our plan to win a Grade 1 race with him. There are no Grade 1s at Monmouth for him, so I stable at Monmouth in the summertime. It afforded us an opportunity to get him what we would feel in peak condition, certainly to attack the Grade 1s. We've always felt he was a Grade 1 winner in our hearts, but we just had to do it on paper to show everybody else. He's going to partake in his next career as a stallion, and it's important for stallions to win a Grade 1 race. So that's been our target all along.
Well, in a moment, we're going to watch that Grade 1 victory. Eddie, why after 18 starts did you put blinkers on him?
Well, sometimes horses need something a little bit different. Sometimes they just get kind of complacent, just like people do in doing a job, and they need something to kind of wake them up. And I just felt that maybe he wasn't quite as focused as we would like to see it. We trained him with him immediately after his race in the Whitney. And if you went back his 2 races previous to that, you're going to see he was much the best horse. And as he's running down the stretch, probably at about the 8th pole, he kind of looks out at the audience and is kind of checking them out. In those races, he had his competition measured, and it didn't make any difference. But he just needed to be a little bit more focused. We trained him with him. We worked him with him. And a lot of times blinkers will put a lot of speed into a horse and maybe hype him up a little bit. That wasn't the case with him, which was a good thing. He just relaxed with them, and it just did give him a little bit more focus, in my opinion.
Well, we are about to watch a piece of his Grade 1 victory. This is the Woodward as we pick it up For our audience, It's My Lucky Day number 2, second on the outside. Eddie, in your opinion, how much did the blinkers play a part in him turning the tables on Moreno?
I don't think it was the wherewithal and it was all him. I think it was part of a puzzle, a few pieces. I think that we put a little bit more pressure on him, meaning Moreno, the first part of the race, rather than allow him to dictate the pace. He was more focused, and Paco Lopez rode an outstanding race on him. And again, it was just an accumulation of things, and I think everything came together in that effort.
Eddie, you have made the decision to bypass the Jockey Club Gold Cup and instead shorten them up for today's 1 mile Kelso. Why that decision?
You know, he's had 2 tough races. The Gold Cup's going to be certainly equally as tough, I would, on paper anyway, as his previous 2 races. You know, horses are a lot like people. Even if they're successful winning, it takes something out of them. And I'm just looking to have my horse, who after today will hopefully run at least 1 time, maybe 2 times. I just want him in peak physical condition, and I just felt the Gold Cup was going to be a bulky field at 1.25 miles, and the level of competition was going to be a lot tougher than this race. You know, a lot of people are reading into it that I might feel that he might not want to go 1.25 miles, and that's not my thought process. You know, he finished second going 1 mile and 3/16 in the Preakness Stakes, so it's a 1/16 of a mile farther. You know, he's a lot bigger, stronger, more intelligent horse now than he was back then. Not intelligent, that's the wrong word, experienced. So the 1.25 miles doesn't scare me. I'm just looking for the path of least resistance to get him to the big dance, whatever that may be, and have him 110%. So I'm not saying to myself going into the big dance, geez, he's had 3 tough races, and, you know, I hope he's 100%, but gosh, you know, maybe we should have missed one of those races. You know, I don't want to second-guess myself. I'm not going to second-guess myself. I'm doing what I know is right for my horse.
Eddie, how's he doing coming up to the Kelso? How'd he come out of the Woodward?
He came out of it fine. I mean, listen, there was a bumping contest between him and Moreno. It was a great race, not only for the horses but for the fans. He's coming into this race on a rating of 1 to 10, probably an 11.
And you must love the outside post today. It's ideal.
Listen, it is ideal, but, you know, ideal is if he wins the race. You know, ideal before the race and all the things that you would like to have. Sometimes you don't get them and you still prevail. I certainly have no excuses as far as post positions today.
Eddie, he is not Breeders' Cup nominated. At this time, and I know things, you know, certainly can change between now and the Cup, but at this time, what are the chances that he's going to run in the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita?
You know what? Listen, we're aware of the Breeders' Cup. I wouldn't want to give you the chances. After this race, I'll talk it over with my partners, and we'll talk it over with Mr. Hughes of Spendthrift Farm, which is where he's going to stand. And we're going to come up with a plan that's the best thing for our horse's future as far as standing at stud. My expertise is training horses. It's not standing stallions. And he might look at something, or they might look at something a little bit different than me. This is a team effort. I'm a team player. So I'm very interested to see what they have to say.
Well, Eddie, first of all congratulations on bringing him back this year and having such a wonderful season. Congratulations on the Grade 1 Woodward, and we wish you all the best in this afternoon's Kelso and whatever might come after that, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again on Down the Stretch.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you, Eddie. Eddie Plaza, ladies and gentlemen, and we are up to our final break. When we return out to California, to welcome Mr. Jerry Hollendorfer. As we go to the final break, the Gallant Bob at Parks, and the 3-5 favorite, number 6, Fast Anna, who had just missed in his last start here at Saratoga in the King's Bishop. But they decided to take blinkers off him. So we will take a look at the Gallant Bob to the break. Back with Jerry Hollendorfer right after these messages.
They're in the gate. And they're off. On the inside, Favorite Tail breaks sharply. On the outside, it's Fast Anna. Between those two, it's Pure Sensation. So 3 of them will fight it out here in the opening furlong. And now Pure Sensation will take back. Fast Anna going at it with Favorite Tail. Fast Anna by a neck. On the inside, Favorite Tail pressing every step of the way second. 3 back to Pure Sensation, who lands in a great spot just off the lead third. Goodbye Greg is fourth. On the inside, Prudhoe Bay comes on from fifth. About 3.5 back to Bump Start. Long shot Camden Street is at the back after a blistering first quarter of 21-1. Favorite Tail has taken the lead as they round the far turn. Fast Anna, though, moving very comfortably on his outside. Prudhoe Bay has crept up in behind those two. Pure Sensation with a chance. Goodbye Greg is making a bit on the far outside, but it's Favorite Tail at the top of the stretch. The half mile, a grueling 43-1. Favorite Tail comes down on the final furlong and opens up by 2. Prudhoe Bay down inside. Fast Anna not gaining right now. Far outside, it's Bump Start. Favorite Tail has the lead with a 16th to go. Favorite Tail running a huge one here today. Favorite Tail, yes sir, he's got it by 3. Fast Anna was second. Bump Start finished third.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano. My thanks to Eddie Plaza once again for having joined us. And Favorite Tail for Guadalupe Preciado and John Bissono. Pretty handy 2.5 lengths over Fast Anna to capture the Gallant Bob. Our final guest this morning has shown skill and patience in his handling of Shared Belief, who will start as the heavy favorite in this afternoon's Awesome Again as his final prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic. We welcome in live via telephone from Southern California, Mr. Jerry Hollendorfer. Jerry, Mark Cassano welcoming you back to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jerry?
Good.
We are going to begin by taking a look back at a piece of the Pacific Classic. And as we pick it up for our audience, Shared Belief is number 11. He is currently 6th between horses. Jerry, talk about this wonderful performance, if you would.
Well, you know, he was a little bit behind because he got away a step slow from the gate. So he's back a little more than usual, but seemed to bide his time and went in between horses and found a seam and got loose and ran a very good race.
And Jerry, it's interesting. This was his very first time going 1.25 miles. It looked like he had been doing it his entire career. Was that any concern for you going into the Pacific Classic?
Well, I think everybody gets concerned about those things, and I'm no different than anybody else on that. But until you see them do it, then it's hard to really know. But we felt like he would get the distance.
Jerry, it was foot issues which kept him sidelined for about 5 months. Have they completely healed? Are they completely behind him?
Well, you never know. Those kind of problems. Some horses have those kind of problems, and he may very well have them from time to time. But we just have to deal with it.
Today's Awesome Again, as well as the Breeders' Cup Classic, of course, contested on dirt at Santa Anita. Shared Belief has had only one start on dirt. It's right here in the Los Alamitos Derby as we pick it up heading into the far turn. He is second on the outside. Jerry, I know he's unbeaten. I mean, he's handled everything you've asked him to do. In your mind, is there any difference with him on dirt or synthetic?
Well, I don't know, but every track is different, and this one is very different, Santa Anita. And the new track was supposed to be a little more fair and not so speed biased, but if we go by what happened yesterday, it's still pretty speed biased.
Mike Smith has ridden him over both surfaces. Has he said anything to you about his action on synthetic versus dirt?
No, I think he's good over both.
He certainly is very good over both. How is he doing coming into this afternoon's Awesome Again?
Very good. He had a nice blowout up at Golden Gate in 47-2 on Tuesday, and then we shipped him down. He's been doing well since then.
Jerry, this kind of differs, from trainer to trainer, but this will be his final prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Aside from winning, of course, this afternoon, what type of race would you like him to have? Would you like him to have the easiest possible victory, or would you like him to be in some kind of a battle?
No, I want like an easy victory, like anybody would, but it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Everybody's in there trying to win, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Jerry, your plans right now, will he be racing next year as a 4-year-old?
Well, I'm certain that he will, yes.
Well, that's wonderful news. In addition to Shared Belief and the Awesome Again, you're going to be running a couple in the grassy Rodeo Drive. We're going to take a look at a piece of Piranda's second-place finish in the recent Yellow Ribbon. And for our audience, she is number 6 on the far outside she is 6th on the far outside as we pick it up. Jerry, since you got her, she's won a couple of stakes for you. She's run quite well. Tell us about Piranda.
Just a filly that we bought from the East Coast, and then when she got back here to the West Coast, I think she took to the climate and the tracks out here. So she's done very well for herself, and we're hoping that we could get a win here today. We can. One of the ones to beat is Ronnie Shores, of course. So if we can beat her, we might be able to beat all of them.
You also run a long shot in there by the name of Scarlet Strike. What are your thoughts on her?
Very well-bred filly, and she ran a real good race last time, going a little bit longer. So, I think the distance is the key for her. She likes going the longer distances.
You have entered a trio of 2-year-old fillies for this afternoon's Chandelier. From inside out, let's get a brief thought from you on each of them, beginning with Mannahatta, a debut winner, but 6th in the Del Mar Debutante last.
Well, Del Mar Debutante came up pretty tough. I was just going to let her run away from there and not try to make her stay back off the pace. So I think she'll run a lot better race today.
Majestic Presence broke her maiden going a 2-turn mile in last.
Yeah, she's been doing very well, and expecting a good race from her also.
And finally, Lutine Bell stretches out from a poor post this afternoon, coming off a couple of sprint races.
Yeah, you know, she ran really well up in the Bay Area, and she has real good numbers, sheet numbers coming into the race. So that's why we decided to try her in this race and see if she can get stretched out. You know, the post is difficult, but you never ever can tell. So there might be a good pace up front. She might have something to run at.
Now, Jerry, I know yesterday was opening day, so we don't have a great sample. But with the new dirt surface, what did your riders come back and tell you after yesterday's races?
Well, I don't think anybody expected the track to be as fast as it was yesterday. So, I mean, we have hot weather here, too. It's not going to be quite as hot today, so it may slow the track down just a little bit. But, I don't know. It doesn't seem, no matter what surface they put down here, it seems like the track's always real fast and kind of speed biased. So we just have to see. Everybody has to race over the same surface, so everybody has the same problem.
Well, Jerry, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and all the best later this afternoon, particularly with Shared Belief in the Awesome again.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jerry Hollendorfer, ladies and gentlemen. And as I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, in my opinion, this is strictly the horse to beat. Not only for today's Awesome again, but for the Breeders' Cup Classic. You can say, and it would be accurate, who has he beaten? But the way he's done it, and when he went to the Los Alamitos Derby, it was not only his first time on dirt, but it was his first time going 1 1/8 miles. And while, Candy Boy isn't, the second coming of a native dancer, Candy Boy's a decent 3-year-old, and he completely dominated Candy Boy. And then in the Pacific Classic, first time going 1.25 miles, got a little bit further back early than they expected him to be because of a bit of an awkward break, but it just didn't make any difference. And so far, everything they've asked this talented colt to do, he has done. Now, the foot problems got to remain at bay. Obviously, no feet, no horse, but he's doing awfully well, and I'm really looking forward to watching him later this afternoon in the Awesome again. Now, some news to catch up on, beginning with Will Take Charge. Last year's champion 3-year-old male has joined the rather lengthy list of recent retirees. A terrific second half of 2013, which included a victory in the Travers and a very close second in the Breeders' Cup Classic, propelled Will Take Charge to the championship. Now, while he raced well at the beginning of this year, with runner-up finishes in the Don and the Santa Anita Handicap, Will Take Charge tailed off in his most recent starts. He retires with a career record of 7 for 21 and earnings of $3.9 million. Now, here's a somewhat unusual but optimistic story. A 50% interest in the recently retired Palace Malice was purchased by Three Chimneys Farm, where he will stand. Now, the unusual part of the story, Palace Malice may race again next year. Apparently, he will be examined by a group of vets in the middle of November. And if they deem him to be 100% sound, Palace Malice would be prepared for a 2015 campaign. He was originally retired due to a bone bruise in his left hind cannon bone. And a pair of Stone Street fillies, My Miss Aurelia on the left and Dreaming of Julia, have both been retired. My Miss Aurelia, the champion 2-year-old filly of 2011, went 6 for 11 with earnings of $2.5 million, while Dreaming of Julia, whose career highlight was probably a 21 3/4 length romp in last year's Gulfstream Oaks, was 4 for 8, while bankrolling $875,000. Now, retirement's not restricted to top United States runners. This is European star miler Kingman, a winner of 4 straight Group 1 victories this year, and he too has been retired due to a throat infection, which would have kept him from racing for the remainder of this year. Kingman won 7 of 8 career starts and about $1.6 million. And Clearly Now, who looks sensational, winning the Belmont Sprint Championship back in July, but who was dreadful when 8th in Saratoga's Forgo in last, is done for the year. His trainer, Brian Lynch, said he felt Clearly Now wasn't 100%, so he'll be freshened for a 2015 campaign. After watching him run in the Forgo, I think it's likely that Clearly Now wasn't 100% for that race. And in case you have a little extra cash laying around, Dual Champion Beholder will be sold at the Fasig-Tipton November sale on November 3rd. Beholder is scheduled to run today in the Zenyatta, then attempt to defend her title in the Breeders' Cup Distaff on October 31st. And finally, prominent owner and breeder Aaron Jones died recently. Jones bred champions Ashado, Speightstown, and Drosselmeyer, and owned champions Lemhi Gold, Reboletta, and Tiffany Lass. Jones was 93. A very big day of racing ahead of us this afternoon. In fact, this is the first big day of racing at this Belmont Fall Championship meet, and it's September 27th. But let's take a look at the stakes lineup at both Belmont Park as well as Santa Anita. And beginning with the Kelso at approximately 227, you are going to have approximately 6 straight hours of stakes action. Because listen, California schedules their races for 30 minutes apart, but they're almost never on time. So with the California schedule stretched out, you're basically going to have about 6 straight hours. So let's take a look at this lineup. I'll give you a few comments about each of the races, beginning with the 4th at Belmont, the Kelso at 227. It's my lucky day. This is an absolutely perfect post position, and I think he's going to be tough to beat. Braidster obviously is in good form coming in here. River Rocks is in very fine form. He moves up in class, and Vijack stretches out from a sprint to this middle distance 1-turn mile, but It's My Lucky Day figures to take a lot of beating. The Belmont 5th is the Belle Dame at approximately 3 o'clock. This is really pretty weak. Stop Charging Maria, who really turned the corner at Saratoga with an overpowering victory in the Coaching Club and a hard-earned victory in the Alabama, will face her elders. She will face, among others, 50 Shades of Hay and Stanwick. Those are nice mares, but last year, as you saw in this morning's Open, we had Princess of Silmar running down Royal Delta. Well, this year's Belle Dame, not exactly that. With close hatches going to Keeneland, this race came up pretty weak. The Belmont 7th is the Flower Bowl at 407. The overall strength of the filly and mare turf division, as well as the male turf division routing, is somewhat suspect. We've got Stephanie's Kitten, who will be favored, looking for her first win of the year. I have followed Stephanie's Kitten's career from day one. One of the things that she has lost as she's gotten older is her early speed. Now, she never had a lot of early speed, but she had positional early speed. This year, that's been gone. Her second place finish in the Beverly D, was borderline spectacular. With a quarter of a mile left, nobody gave her any kind of a chance. But, it's tough to come from so far back consistently, and that's one of the reasons why she's still looking for her first win of the year. One of my favorites, Abaco, who will need a pace, is in there, but I think Stephanie's Kitten is the one to beat. in this afternoon's Flower Bowl. Now, race number 8 is the Vosburg with an approximate post of 441. Palace coming off 2 monstrous performances at Saratoga, draws the inside post. He's got to overcome that post once again, but Linda Rice has told us Palace is better at 6 furlongs than he is at 7, and he looked awfully good winning at 7/8 last time. Happy My Way and defending champion Private Zone will provide speed. The 9th at Belmont is the Joe Hirsch at approximately 5:16. You got a rematch of the Sword Dancer first 3 in main sequence, Imagining in Twilight Eclipse. You throw in Big Blue Kitten and a Real Solution, and you've got a nice Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. Then we go out to Santa Anita for race number 5, the Zenyatta, at approximately 5:30, and it's Beholder's first start since the June 7th Ogden Phipps. She has raced well off layoffs in the past. She will face Iotapa, who ran awfully well 2 starts back. Completing the day at Belmont, the stakes action, is the Jockey Club Gold Cup, race number 10 at about 5:50. And this is always fascinating to me when the 3-year-olds finally face their elders. VE Day, Wicked Strong, Tonalist versus their elders. And Moreno, that is a brutally difficult post for him. The Santa Anita action continues in the 6th with the front runner, American Pharaoh. The Del Mar Futurity winner as a maiden will start as the favorite. The Rodeo Drive in the 7th, Miss Serendipity, must overcome a tough post. The Awesome again in race number 8. I have no idea how they're going to beat Shared Belief. A Turf Sprint in race number 9 in the Unzip Me. And the Santa Anita 10th, the Chandelier, which will be, in my opinion, well after 8 o'clock tonight. Todd Pletcher ships Angela Renee out there, who was 2nd in the Adirondack and a distant 3rd in the Spinaway in her last 2 starts. So basically, 6 straight hours of stakes action from the Kelso at approximately 2:27 through the Chandelier at Santa Anita. And tomorrow at Belmont, 2 important grass stakes for the 2-year-olds in the Pilgrim and the Miss Grillo. So a very important weekend of racing coming up at Belmont Park. Time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show on the air as we wrap things up. Here at the studios at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany, our associate producer Julie Hoxie, as well as Dan Hayes. Back in the control room in Schenectady, our regular director Pat Peretta. On board, Brian Dorenzo handled audio. Thanks to this morning's guests, Jerry Hollendorfer and Eddie Plaza and Eric Yeo. And thanks to our sponsors, Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. And we welcome back Bloodlines Racing, racing quality runners like Invading Humor and Distorted Beauty. Visit them on the web at bloodlinesracing.com. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Enjoy this wonderful day and very good weekend of racing, both here and at Santa Anita. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.